Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dear all, I would like to thank you for attending this webinar. I would also like to thank our panelists for making the presentation today possible. So we have together four FOF 11 projects, namely Composition, VIFOS, Nimble, and GGCore. We have joined forces together with EFRA through the Connected Factory CSA, as well as three DT-ICT 07 projects, eFactory, Quality, and ZDMP. What we're going to go through in today's webinar is that we will provide you first with an introduction of the hyper-connected factories and pathways concept as they have been approached in the Connected Factories project. Then we will navigate you through the current status via the four FOF 11 projects, visions, and results. At this point, I would like to point out that these 5 projects, we have been collaborating for some time. Among others, we organized a networking session in the ICT 2018 event, which gave interesting pointers for our next steps. We would like to share with you our common vision for the future manufacturing pathways in Europe, as it is being realized in the recently started DT-ICT 07 projects. And of course, there's going to be room for your questions in the end. So without any further ado, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Chris Deckber from EFRA. And, well, enjoy. Chris, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Evgenia. Thanks a lot for the introduction, Evgenia. Thanks a lot to all participants. Welcome. So I will indeed provide you some words about connected factories, but let me first start by introducing EFRA. EFRA is the private side in the public-private partnership Factories of the Future, which is a program on manufacturing that actually started in 2010, and it has a vast portfolio of projects, 283 to be precise, on manufacturing. A lot of these projects deal with digitalization of manufacturing, and well, we have basically 2 roles at EFRA: is shaping the program, providing the priorities for the future, and also collecting information and facilitating information sharing about the results and outcome of the projects. In order to support that digitally, we deploy the EFRA Innovation Portal, where we collect information in a structured way. Now, one of the ways to structure information is to consider different aspects. You can call them cross-cutting factors, cross-cutting enablers. I'll come back to that later. Another way to do that is to look more in a timeline, and that's where the pathways come in. Switching next slide now. Still waiting for the next slide to appear. There it is. Cross-cutting factors. So the concept of pathways, I'll come back in a minute. But when we talk about digitalization, for sure, there's a lot of aspects to be considered. We consider skills. We have to consider skills. It's one of the major topics. So in the left corner, you see them there also appearing pretty much as very priority topics. On the other hand, when we talk digitalization, we want to know what's the added value of optimization. We can have fun with digital tools for sure, but they have an optimization focus. There should be win-win situations for the different stakeholders that use the digital tools. That brings us to business models and the financial side of things even. Now, in order to make things work digitally in the current economy, interoperability and associated standards are key enablers. And for sure, the different projects that also feature in this webinar, well, they see interoperability as a key aspect of their work. Another possible barrier, if you want, is security. Certainly, if we go beyond the factory, connecting factories and value networks, exchanging information about products, about the state of play, the progress of work in factory field. Security is a major aspect. And then you have a whole myriad of technology and building blocks. You can mention blockchain among them, artificial intelligence in general, control technology, 5G, etc., etc. So there's a lot of aspects to be taken care of. On the other hand, there's the pathways aspects, and on the slide that you still see, you see some milestones there progressing from the left to the right. I'm waiting for the next slide to appear actually. Trying again. There, pathways. Previous slide. Okay, getting there. So in this context, in the context of this webinar, we are considering the hyper-connected factories pathway. Now, you consider pathways in different contexts. You can stay within the factory automation, you can stay within one factory, and there's a lot of things to be digitalized there to get the flows right. But certainly when we go beyond the factory, when we go into value networks, there's a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities for digitalization. And the concept of pathways is that we look at of digitalization on the left side, and we progress to the right side, addressing or implementing more advanced levels of digitalization, which provide more opportunities for optimization. Optimization of the speed of the value network, of time to market, etc. In level 2 there, for instance, you see there that one specific issue with digitalization is that there's dedicated softwares being used, but they're used in silos, and you can consider ERP systems, supply chain management systems, isolated data acquisition systems, etc., etc. And the point is to go to really intra-factory integration and connect systems. The major issue is actually in level 4, when you start digitalization going beyond the factory, you would do it probably with value network partners which you have a long-term relationship. So the effort of connecting the data flows beyond the factories with your supply chain partners, you would probably do with the long-term partners within that value network. And there's a lot of digitalization yet to do on this level. Now the level 5 is really the most advanced level, where you would be able to connect digitally to your suppliers, to your clients in a very dynamic way, meaning that you don't have to know their systems up front, having a long-term relationships for years with them. You can do it on the fly. So that's the concept of pathways, and how actually the projects also in this session really pave the way towards getting to the advanced stages. Proceeding to the next slide now. I will get back to the EFRA Innovation Portal and the concept of the pathways in the EFRA Innovation Portal. There it is. So in the EFRA Innovation Portal, we have different cost-cutting factors being pointed out in the Structure Wiki. There's a specific section on digitalization pathways. And what we're doing now is collecting information from projects, but also from specific demonstrators, technologies, solutions provided by the projects to be able to situate them in the different pathways that are put forward. You will see there's the autonomous smart factory pathway, which is more about digitalization within the factory. There's the hyper-connected factories pathway, which is more the context of this session. There's another pathway on collaborative product service. More information can be found about that on the Connected Factories website. Feel free to take a look. Here to illustrate some of this work, and that is online available, an example of how a project called FarEdge was mapped on the autonomous smart factory pathway, going through the different levels and commenting how the different milestones in the pathway have been addressed by a particular project. And we're now in the phase of deploying this mapping towards the hyper-connected factories pathway-related projects, of which the projects in this webinar really are, I would say, the drivers to the future solution in hyper-connected factories. Going to the next slide. Trying again. Yeah, you will see a video. You can see a video on connectedfactories.eu about this to get more feel about what we're looking at here, what we believe pathways are, and how they can be beneficial. So feel free to have a look.
Thank you very much, Chris. Now we will go on with the 4 FOF11 projects, starting with DigiCore. And now I'd like to ask Mr. Usman Fajid from Information Catalyst to take the floor and tell us about DigiCore.
Thank you, Ifigenia. Welcome everybody to this webinar. As Ifigenia just introduced, DigiCore is a FOF11 2016 project. It is just about to finish in a couple of months' time, and the project results are visible at the project website and the portal, which are the links to these are provided on this slide. DigiCore is actually a realization of this hyper-connected factories concept that Chris just introduced, as it brings together elements for intra-factory connectivity, so the shop floor connectivity, inter-factory integration, so linking multiple production systems together, and inter-factory integration with new value networks in order to provide end-to-end visibility into the distributed supply networks. So DigiCore, in essence, is a collaboration platform that allows multiple companies to join forces in order to create agile value networks, and then provides the collaboration tools that allow companies to publish their production data or supply data in a secure way and exchange this data with supply chain partners, so that the supply chain can become more visible and risks can be identified before they become problems. The project is validated in 3 use cases. So we have the use case from aerospace supply networks, also a use case in automotive supply chain. So where we are deploying the project in order to connect multiple companies of these specific domains with the DigiCore platform, and then supporting the creation of these value networks and analyzing how DigiCore adds value in terms of optimizing the existing processes and providing more visibility into the distributed supply chain activities. Finally, there is a use case on factory automation, so where we provide tools for shop floor connectivity, allowing companies to plug their production data with the supply chain and collaboration systems and the DigiCore platform. The platform is already developed. It's being deployed, as I mentioned, in different use cases. And the entry point to the platform is a portal. Some of the snapshots are provided on this slide, where you can see that by logging into the DigiCore portal, the users can see how many companies are registered with this platform, how many business opportunities are available by means of open tenders, and then how many ongoing collaborations are open and what is the status of these different collaborations. At the same time, the project provides a marketplace of tools and services where technology providers can expose their technology offerings as tools, allowing the platform users to make use of these tools to perform different operations. One of the examples of the DigiCore use cases is provided in this slide, where you would notice that the DigiCore platform at the bottom provides different interfaces to automate the whole tendering, bidding, team formation, and also collaborative management of supply chain activities through the use of intuitive interfaces. The platform in itself is a cloud-based solution, and after validations, we plan to release it through the use case partners in different domains. Thank you very much, and we would be happy to answer any questions in the later session.
Thank you, Usman. Now we continue with composition and Mr. Mark Jens from Fraunhofer FIT. Mark, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Also, hello from my side, and a few words on composition. So the idea of composition is to create an integrated information management system. That means that we try to combine and bring together all the data that is in different systems all around a shop floor or within one company in order to make use of it then as integrated database in a central place. So we apply here big data analytics techniques, especially deep learning, and try to find patterns and do forecasts based on the data that we have collected together. So this relates to the third pathway that Chris was introducing, but we are also aiming at the fifth one, creating opportunities from companies with new external companies. And for this, we have as one core technology our agent-based marketplace. So the idea is that from the integrated information management system, a company is able to share data with externals and also to interact with externals on some knowledge and data from within the company. For that, of course, it needs to be assured that there is secure data access, so that if company A shares data with company B, it must be assured that no other company can access that data, and also that company B can only access that specific data that was allowed to be shared. We are in a similar state as the other projects, meaning that the project ends in end of August, and we have actually, I'm also trying to get here to the next slide. So yeah, there we are. That we have already deployed and piloted 6 applications on our 3 pilot partners. When I talk about the core technologies that I was mentioning before, this is first of all this marketplace. Here in our case, it allows us to place requests on something into the marketplace. In our case, we have a lift manufacturer called Kleeman in Greece, and they want to sell some of their scrap metal, and so they place a request into the marketplace saying, okay, which company can pick it up under which conditions, and then every waste management company or basically anyone can place their bids there and say, okay, I collect this waste to this time under this price under these conditions. And then there's a semi-automatic negotiation process running in the background, which is then suggesting an order in which bids would be the best ones, but the Kleeman then can finally decide on which order to take. We have also one of their waste management suppliers as pilot partner in the consortium, and we had to simulate the other ones. So this is one of the systems, and the other idea or the other system is about the data analytics. We use data analytics for predictive maintenance in Kleeman again as well, and for the other pilot partner, Boston Scientific. And there, the idea is that we have here a machine that has to be maintained from time to time. And currently they are using preventive maintenance. And we are analyzing the data that comes from a sensor, which we have developed to forecast when predictive maintenance, so when maintenance activities have to be performed. So as impact, this predictive maintenance would lead to a reduction in downtime from failures, whereas when I also look back at the marketplace example, there the impact would be that from the customer's point of view, you would have a better interaction with more suppliers. You would get more bids than without the marketplace, but also from the supplier's point of view, there's an added value because you can reach more potential customers because you can actually bid to anyone's request, which you would not know before. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you, Mark. So up next, now we have Nimble, and we will hear from Mr. Bernhard Brecher from Salzburg Research. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Nimble sort of starts, if we go back to Chris de Cubber's notion of the hyperconnectivity pathway, goes a bit to the left where digitization is only starting. I mean, typically smaller SMEs may have a web shop, but they are typically not in a supply chain type platform, and this is the sort of thing that Nimble tried to achieve. So you can, it looks like bread and butter, but it's rather important to actually get to that stage, to being able to register on a platform, publish your products, search, let others then search for such products, make further requests, negotiate terms, and then actually manage contracts once and arrange on the way transportation and logistics, including, and this is where we sort of connect to other projects as well, link data sources that you may have on your shop floor and make them available for sharing with others. That's the basic sort of functionality that Nimble tried to address. So if we then go to the next slide. Seems to take a while. There we are. So there's some core elements to the thinking of Nimble, and that is the core services that I've just explained. And another notion is that in Europe, it is quite likely that platforms will not develop in a sort of monopolistic fashion, but there will be sectorial solutions, there may be regional solutions, and the idea is to actually provide as open source technology this platform that can be taken by platform providers, be customized to a sector or regional requirements, and then be used and actually connect up to a larger network of platform instances, as you can see indicated on this first slide, second slide rather. We're trying to move to the next one.
Continue, we need to be on time. Thank you.
Yeah, for some reason, it doesn't seem to react to. Iphigenia, could you take over the mouse and just carry on for me?
Logistics and providers slide with added value for. You want this one?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So what you can see here on this slide is that we are multi-sided, or at least four-sided as a platform. So you have the producers and their suppliers on the left and on the right. You can see that you can include logistics providers, and you can have, for example, like the use case earlier for composition, where you may have some predictive maintenance tool or whatever, that can also be included. Such additional services can also be included, and they constitute then some sort of network of business that can be executed on the platform. We have 4 use cases, and if you can carry to the next one, then Violeta will take over and explain the last 2 slides.
Okay, thanks. So in practice, what we have so far developed in Nimble, it's actually basic platform. This is a single Nimble architecture and platform that we are using in order to customize and features and to adapt platforms to specific manufacturing sectors. One of the actually lead use case in Nimble is furniture manufacturing, and this is driven by IDIME from Valencia in Spain. And as you can see in this picture, there is a sort of dashboard where actually users can share their catalogs and create sort of environment for placing orders and for doing negotiation. So here are, for example, buttons exactly that can be used in order to adjust negotiation features. And at the end, they can also come to the contract that can be placed in order to perform the order. Another 2 use cases, I think it's on the next slide, yeah. Exactly. So as I said, Nimble Furniture Manufacturing Platform, or FMP, is the central to us, but we're also using demo system in order to experiment with other use cases which are related to eco-houses platforms and textile and white goods, which is followed further with circular economy perspective use cases. In principle, these are already 2 instances, and recently we created the 3rd instance, which is put in the context of eFactory, one of the newest projects, which actually started in January this year, where we want to experiment federation principles. In principle, we already start with some interoperation challenges in the context of eFactory, and we're finding some specific technical and also research problems that we will be happy to address during the next year on eFactory. So something that probably Usman can address later in the presentation.
Okay,
that's it.
Violeta.
That concludes Nimble.
Thank you, Violeta and Werner. Last but not least, we have VFOS with Mr. Oscar Garcia from KnowledgeBase. From Catalyst. Please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Iphigenia. Okay, so thanks everybody to still stay awake until this 4th project to be presented in a row. So basically, VFOS stands for Virtual Factory Open Operating System, and what we aim is to provide the means for software developers to finally be able to develop be applications for the industrial environments. Okay, so in that sense, what we are offering it's a central platform offering design time and runtime capabilities for the development of these applications through the open environment, open application kit, and the execution of these applications through the platform and the BFOS marketplace, which we call BFS Store. Sorry. I'm trying to switch to the next slide, but it's not working. So if Eugenia, if you mind, can you do that also for me? So BFOS is composed of 6 major components. One is the Open Applications Kit that I already mentioned, which comes with an IDE for software developers, enabling the development of these applications. Second one is the BFOS platform, which is basically the execution environment where we can monitor and see how the different applications are being executed. The marketplace, where all the assets and the applications themselves can be published so they can be applied for other scenarios. And then 3 other components, which are the BFOS kernel, which is the central environment, the BFOS input-output component, which is the one that provides connectivity to device drivers, also to connect to robots, production lines, or sensors, for instance, and the middleware, which is the component to provide the data sharing mechanisms together with storage or analytics or the typical ETL transformations. We have to say that this development environment for applications is free, is open source, and we are validating these through the 3 different scenarios. One related to the manufacturing and logistics automation, where the automation gets into play. Another related to assembly collaboration, where the collaboration between 2 companies is being sorry, wow, now it's going too fast. Is going to be tested. And the last one is about deals the needs on the construction site, where, for instance, document management needs are covered. Okay, all of them are developing 5 different applications, ranging from predictive maintenance to document management, quality assurance, or maintenance calendars, for instance. As I said before, we are providing a development environment for these applications, and last week we successfully ran our first hackathon for external developers, where the students in the UPV were asked to develop their own applications. We also offer some examples to them so they know what could be produced, but basically they develop their own applications, and you can see the results of the video in of the hackathon, sorry, in the embedded video here, accessing to our YouTube channel. And that's all from my side as well.
Iphigenia, we can't hear you.
I was muted, so apologize. As promised, so we will provide you with the results from ICT 2018 and the vision of the 3 recently started projects for the future of European manufacturing in Europe. In 2018, in the ICT event in Vienna, we had a networking session. We've been working very well together, these 5 projects. The idea was to promote this actually aspect of the federated smart factory ecosystem and to boost the collaboration among the manufacturers, the industrial manufacturers from the one side, and the ICT people, the founders, the providers of the digital platforms. We had a very interesting sessions, and it was quite eye-opening sometimes, because people are very open and eager for innovative synergies, knowledge sharing, and they really wanted to hear what we had to say, and also were eager to participate via online tools we had, as well as into vivid and live discussion. What we could take from this event was that there are some expectations from the ICT people, from the tool platform providers, from the platform. So this means that what do we need? We need access to interoperable tools and services, and to be based on open source solutions. Developers said that they would also like to test and validate these new solutions, and they would more than welcome to support the knowledge sharing approach and be part of this community that's interested in collaborations and in establishing new business opportunities. Because as we said in projects such as Composition and Nibble, this federated ecosystem allows for more visibility for companies and participation to markets that they would otherwise not be able to reach out to. In terms of what we would like, that the end users would like that the platform has, and they provide these requirements to the platform providers, is a very, very strong interest into having something that is actually in a market-ready state. So the market is ready to accept, to receive, to welcome, let's say, these kinds of platforms. But one thing that we still need to keep working on and make sure that it operates right as it should be is not only the connectivity part, but security, privacy, and user access and rights management. So yes, we want a portal. Yes, the users want a marketplace, but it has to be secure, private, and very, very well connected. So how we're going to do that? We already started doing that in the context of the DT-ICT 07 projects. And we will first start with eFactory, and I would like to ask Usman again to take the floor and provide you with some more details on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So eFactory is one of the 3 projects funded in the DT-ICT 07 2018 call. This is one of the 3 projects, actually the only project which focuses on the lot size 1 manufacturing topic. And the idea of this project originates from the collaborations that happened between the 4 projects, Nimble, Composition, DigiCore, and vFOSS, and also in consultations with the Connected Factory CSA and the events that were organized by EFRA, where we analyzed that the 4 ongoing projects, which were previously presented, were trying to address the same type of user communities and offer somewhat complementary solutions to their user communities. So we said that, okay, if we are trying to address these communities, and most of these projects, with the exception of vFOSS, which is focusing on more like shop floor automation aspect, the 3 other projects are very close to the essence of hyper-connected factories persona or the pathway. And these 3 projects were all focusing on establishing agile networks and collaborations and supporting end-to-end visibility of distributed activities. So in eFactory, we are trying to address all of these aspects by bringing these 4 projects into one federation, in one federation model. The idea is that the 4 projects, which are already delivering functioning platforms, will continue to be, let's say, sustained. These 4 platforms will continue to serve the user communities, but the value propositions of these 4 projects or these platforms would be interlinked through an interoperable data spine. This data spine will act as a gluing mechanism, allowing interoperation of tools and user communities across the 4 platforms in a federation model. Therefore, with eFactory, not only the user communities of the existing platform will benefit from open reach to additional tool sets and functionalities, but also any new users coming into the eFactory ecosystem will have unified access to multiple tools and functionalities that are provided by different platforms, but would be interoperable and would be available for users to access. The project itself started in January, and we are at a very early stage of developing the platform. The approach is briefly introduced by Violeta, which is this interoperation challenges, where we're trying to break down the complex challenges of linking multiple platforms into small experimentation-oriented tasks, and where each team is trying to focus on one specific task. For example, from enabling single sign-on across multiple platforms, to the exchange of data between different platforms, to the access to multiple marketplaces through a unified interface. All these are the things which are currently ongoing in the project. And the outlook of the, let's say, the public interface to the eFactory ecosystem is shown on this slide. This is a eFactory portal that provides access to a ecosystem of platform systems and services which are brought together by the eFactory partners. Further information is available on the website. Thank you.
Thank you, Usman. Now we go on to the Quality project, which is again under the same call funded. It also started in January. It approaches the digital reality in zero defect manufacturing. So we have 45 partners and 14 pilots, and I apologize for this. What we are doing in this what these 45 partners are doing together is, again, in an early stage, trying to demonstrate in a measurable, applicable, and even replicable manner an open, certifiable, and as much as standardized as possible, a ZDM zero defect manufacturing product and service model that is SME friendly and in the concept of shared data. So what is the goal is to be able to find a way so that European industry can build unique and highly tailored zero defect manufacturing strategies, and so that European manufacturing can keep the competitive advantage through an orchestrated open platforms ecosystem. So what you expect from Quality in the end is a number of platforms, open platforms, orchestrated into one ecosystem that offers ZDM atomized components and digital enables, so that you, the manufacturer, the ICT provider, the SME manufacturer, can make the zero defect manufacturing a digital reality. What are the challenges that we need to meet is that we have to provide cost and time effective solutions that are suitable for brownfield ZDM deployment, as well as flexible strategies to be designed and adapted, while keeping into consideration the human factor that we still need to plan and develop for human-centered manufacturing. In the vision of the pathways, we had the smart factory or the digital factory, and now Quality goes a step further and differentiates a bit from the other projects that you will see under DDICT 07, because there is a focus on the digital enhancement at equipment level. So the aim is to digitally enhance actual machines on the shop floor so that they can become plug and control autonomous quality monitoring and reconfiguring manufacturing equipment. So we're going to have real-time data spaces for monitoring the process and adaptation abilities, and simulation data spaces for digital process twin continuity. Like other projects under this call, we are trying to be as much SME friendly as possible. A lot of partners in the consortium are SMEs. Open calls will be available. We'll be happy to notify you as soon as they are out in the beginning of next year, probably. So the idea is to provide all these tools so that SMEs can go into this open ecosystem of platforms, into these open solutions, and to be able to make the next step and operate under new business models, actually making the transition from detection or analysis of data and even predictability that they could be already operating at some level to an autonomous quality status in this smart automated factory. So this is what we would like to share at this moment, again, in the early stages of quality. I would like to give the floor to Stuart Campbell now, so that we can hear about ZDNP. Stuart, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So if I understand well, I'm the last main presentation. So if Oscar hoped you were awake after presentation 4, I really hope you're awake now. So I'm going to talk to you about another project. It's in the same field as quality. So these are the two winning proposals in this field. And our aim, as it suggests on the slide, is to build a smart zero defects platform. Of course, we want to be SME friendly, and we want it to be a multi-sided marketplace as well, building on what we've seen in consumer-based marketplaces, and to let Europe, as Max Lemke says, try to win on business marketplaces, even if it hasn't done so well on consumer business marketplaces. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a couple of minutes, if my slide jumps forward. Can you advance the slide for me? Because it's not working either. Can somebody advance there? That's it. Okay, perfect. So this is what ZDNP is all about, and the key diagram is the one which looks like a kind of piece of the silver one. So what we have here, as you see at the top, they require solutions. They might need them specifically built, or they might just need to look at particular solutions available. But they will need them from essentially two sets of people: zero defect technology providers and software application providers. So the technology providers might be, for example, providing everything from visions or metrology systems or some interfaces, and of course they know category citing as well. The software application providers are much more coming from kind of software development perspective, trying to combine and integrate bits and pieces together between them, people circumstances to fit a solution. So we have some integrators, particularly for larger companies. They are going to take these applications which we're developing and then
Really hard to hear you. Usman? Stuart? Something wrong with the voice here. I hope I'm not the one who has the problem. The connection server has. Can you hear me? On our showing application. Okay, I can see that we are online again, and unfortunately the tool had a small breakdown. The connection has now been established. I hope you are all with us and that Stuart can take this up. I apologize for this. It was an internal server issue. Okay.
Right. Okay. So we've actually been based upon existing technology. Oscar told you just now a little bit about a project called, that next, there we go, next, about VFOS. So VFOS was a combination of several technology projects where we added some more stuff to that to build what Oscar has shown you just now in terms of his grid of technologies. Next. Hello. Can you show the next step of the animation? Okay.
Here you go.
Is it possible to show the next step of the animation? Because I've lost control here.
I think I am.
Go again, because that's it. Okay, so in terms of VFOS, what VFOS is providing is a series of individual components which you want to take advantage on, whether they're analytics or storage, etc. Next step. Could you advance the slide one more?
I'm not.
One more.
Oh, here?
No, one more. There. And what we're doing is taking the aspects of VFOS. We're adding some more building blocks to that to improve it, to fill some of the gaps. And what we're doing here, importantly, is adding process and product quality to that. So that means anything from looking at energy efficiency and resource optimization through to measurement and vision type technology. So you see it's tapped on to the user ecosystem slide. This is where we've got 4 sectors. You see machine tools, electronics, automotive, and construction. And we've got quite a nice kind of build-up scenario, starting off with some equipment providers. They, for example, provide milling machines and other machines to put in those machines together into their lines for components suppliers such as Martin-Rea. And finally, those components go into Ford. So we've got a nice kind of quality chain, which we're trying to evolve and communicate between those different suppliers. And that's involving the electronics sector as well, also feeding the automotive sector. Another one we've got is construction. Construction is pretty interesting. A construction site is the kind of ultimate factory, a pop-up factory where the factory becomes the product. And actually, although this particular diagram shows construction rather, let's say, isolated, even though it's a chain, we found there's actually a strong link to the machine tool sector as well, because same kind of technologies are used for machining metal or machining rock, for example, for tiles. So we're finding some intersections between those projects, which is pretty good because we also have a cross-domain demonstrator. Okay, next.
I think this is it. Then.
Which I think is the last one. Yeah. So that's a bit about ZD MP. So as with the other projects, we've only been live for about 5 months now. So we're a 4-year project, so things are going to start to progress. Now we're in, let's say, the technology phase as opposed to the startup phase. So please do contact me if you would like to hear any further information.
I would like to thank everyone for also sticking through the small glitch. And now we would be ready to take any questions we might have from the audience. If you want to pose a question, you just need to raise your hand, and then we will provide you with the best answer possible at this moment. If you are shy or if you want to think it over a bit, we have the information for every person that participated in the panel in this presentation today. Also, the presentation in a PDF format is available for you in the handouts section. We are also recording this webinar, and it will be available also in the website of the different sites. I can speak for Composition for sure. As well, it will also be on the Composition YouTube channel, together with the presentation, in the website, so that you can also browse it in a different time, in your own time, or to share it with your colleagues. If we have any questions. Okay, then I think that this was it. Thank you so much for staying with us for this whole hour, exploring all those different projects, results that have already come out, and the impact they had on our consortia, and the vision we have for the next steps with the DT-ICT07 projects. Chris, if you want to say something about the upcoming events.
Well, I'm happy to say that there will be an event on artificial intelligence and manufacturing on the 2nd of July. And well, artificial intelligence has many interpretations, has many possible applications. So I guess that for the audience, there might be some interest in participating, also considering that there's a call on artificial intelligence and manufacturing in the next Factories of the Future call. Thanks, Iphigenia.
Thank you all, and we will be happy again to take any questions you might have. Please feel free to contact us. We would be more than willing to interact with you and collaborate with you and explore any kind of synergies we might find. Thank you again, and goodbye.